Hi everyone, it's Bella. I hope you are having a wonderful Gemini season so far. And today I'd like to talk to you about the Sagittarius South Node total lunar eclipse supermoon on the 26th of May 2021. It's a super full moon at 5 degrees of Sagittarius. And eclipses are portals. They are openings where energy can pass through back and forth, in and out. And it is a time where the veil between the world and the worlds are very thin. So it's very much a spiritually connected time. Now, this eclipse will be seen in Australia, parts of the Western US, Western South America, Southeast Asia. These areas will be able to see the moon turn a shade of red for about 14 minutes during the total lunar eclipse, depending, of course, on whether the weather will permit a visual. And this is a total eclipse. Now, the eclipse takes place just a few hours after the moon reaches perigee, which is the closest point to Earth on its orbit, making it a super blood moon. Now, the sun, the moon, and the Earth are on the same plane during an eclipse, and with a lunar eclipse like this, the Earth is in the middle and it cuts off the direct light from the sun that is reflected by the moon, and leaving it still a full moon, but just with less light, and the light, of course, in this case, a shade of red. This eclipse also marks the start of an almost tetrad of a series of 4 big lunar eclipses in 2 years. 3 of them are total, while one of them on November this year is a deep partial eclipse. If you have any planets or angles around 5 degrees of the mutable signs, this eclipse will be a strong internal energy for you, and for some external as well. Eclipses can really speed things up and redirect us into directions that we are supposed to go into. Collectively, this eclipse could be affecting education, cultural issues, religious issues, borders, immigration, as well as air and sea travel and legislation in regards to this internationally. It could also affect the distribution of medication worldwide on a large scale, and this could also be a speeding up of something such as that in order to reach more people faster. This eclipse will also be able to relate to personal as well as world events similar to the year 2002, as well as 2012 and June of 2020. This eclipse will allow for light to be shed on certain hidden factors that needs to be revealed. Have a look at where 5 degrees of Sagittarius falls in your chart, as this is strongly where the energy will impact and bring change over the next 9 months. Strong mutable energy with this eclipse, with the North Node in Gemini and the South Node in Sag. The Sun is in Gemini and the Moon is in Sagittarius, and also Jupiter, the ruler of this eclipse, now recently just entering Pisces with Neptune there, both in dignity and strong and squaring this eclipse. Now, Mercury, the ruler of the North Node, is in dignity in Gemini at this time, about to go retrograde in a few days after the eclipse, which is going to be an extremely powerful retrograde with Mercury in dignity as a day planet. And Venus is also in Gemini at this time. Both are squaring the Neptune in Pisces during this eclipse as well. So there is an element of confusion or a lack of information to a certain degree, or some form of even deception. Now, Saturn is in Aquarius, is also currently retrograde and trining the North Node here in Gemini, which brings more clarity and stability during this time. So this will definitely assist counteracting a strong Neptune square to Mercury during this time. There is more form taking place in the steps moving forward. And even though most lunar eclipses are about endings, completions, and a fruition of some kind, of finishing up or dissolving of something, this lunar eclipse has it extra emphasized, with it being a south node eclipse ruled by Jupiter that expands everything it touches, and it being in dignity in Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac, that can also be about losses, endings, completions, fruitions, finishing things, dissolving things. It can be about drowning in something, being so one with it that there's no distinction between you and it any longer. It's a place of no boundaries. It's a place of sleep, of dreaming, of spirituality and oneness. It's compassion, it's healing, and it's also karma and moving between worlds. Ultimately, it's a letting go and being connected to a natural flow and a removal of what needs to be released right now, and understanding it on a more intuitive level that feels right and more forgiving, with a healing in the release connected to your spiritual growth and soul growth. Now, eclipses can move us into totally new directions than what we thought we were moving into. Not that it's the case with everyone, but it is God's hand in moving you into alignment, even if it's shocking or uncomfortable. But choices are made, and there's a strong intuitive feeling about this. You have been learning more about yourself and how you connect to what is meaningful for you, and also how you see yourself now. Letting go of old belief, of belief systems or belief kinds of how relationships should work or be, or certain systems should work or be. Letting go of a belief that is no longer of value, that is not part of your truth. There's a letting go of how you see a situation, maybe a letting go of certain expectations of others or even yourself, what your life is supposed to look like and to feel like, any area of your life. Sacrifices, expectations, boundaries, or lack thereof. Now, this eclipse is in the nakshatra of Anuradha. In Sanskrit, it means to come after, and it's an archway. Success through kindness, devotion, and worship. A simple heart. Now, Saturn rules this nakshatra, which connects this eclipse to karmic outcomes related to actions of the past. Now, Saturn is currently also retrograde, which makes this a double case of karma and divine timing. Literally. With the background aspect all year of Saturn squaring Uranus, there can be strong obstacles to overcome for some, almost like a ride where you free fall only to be jerked suddenly into stillness once more, only to free fall again, and so on. But since Saturn is trining the Gemini energy with Venus and Mercury in dignity and the North Node of destiny, these obstacles can be overcome, but not necessarily on your timing, God's timing, the perfect timing. And when the timing is perfect, you are ready for it, even if you don't think that you are. It might even end up being an adventure. Now, numerology and the number 5 reinforce curiosity, change, and freedom. It also connects to more than one opportunity and more than one way of things unfolding, more than one doorway to choose from moving forward, more than one person involved. This eclipse is about choices, huge changes, adaptations and flexibility, endings and letting go. And it's about letting go of trying to figure everything out and allowing your intuition to lead you through the changes. You are allowed to change your mind. So follow what is a feeling inside of you that's good for you right now. Even though there is still confusion, there is still an unknowing in an area or areas that are interconnected, you might need to let go in both the area of Sagittarius as well as the area of Pisces, as Jupiter rules both of these signs. Now surrender to God's divine plan, even if you cannot understand it all just yet. Let go of judgments of others here as well as yourself. These changes are bringing a deep healing in these areas of your life, a wisdom and an understanding that's more tangible from past experience. And you can accept it now as you are after living a more meaningful life towards your truth. After all, you cannot bring in what is ready for you next if you don't make room for it first. Now, I would like to read for you Saturn, the ruler of the nakshatra of this eclipse, is at 13 degrees of Pisces. I want to read to you the inside degrees of this placement. A lidless granite sarcophagus, it is empty. There is nothing to go back to. The past has become a phantom. You are propelled forward into the great unknown. But it is so easy to become somewhat desperate and out of context. So much depends upon how you interpret the fact that you are strictly on your own, without a personal history or heritage to fall back upon. Is this real opportunity or a strange fate? It is very hard to tell the difference, as it all becomes ambiguous, paradoxal, very mixed. Where do you go from here? No easy answers anywhere. Perhaps the only thing to do is to acknowledge and move with this radical opening, and to put no interpretations on it, assuming nothing at all. For if you can welcome multi-dimensionality with truly open arms, it might well turn out that the future was never supposed to be like the past, and that becoming so free does provide an open access channel for what needs to happen, to come through a jump ahead of the last moment, synchronized with evolution beautifully. Now, this eclipse can make the liver, the sacrum, the thigh bone, the tailbone, the hip muscles, the hip joints, the lumbar vertebra, and the lumbar muscle a bit more sensitive. So provide extra care for these areas of your body at this time, and also what you take in regards to the liver. And surgical operations are not recommended during a full moon period, especially one like this. But of course, if there's no other way and it's an emergency, just be mindful of that. Don't plan any surgeries during this time if you can help it. And before I start with the eclipse and the 12 signs and how it will affect you, I will end with the inside degrees that highlights the moon at 5 degrees of Sagittarius. 3 women materializing out of a fog, being mesmerized by your own triple reflection, casting a huge chunk of your own soul back into the dim past, casting another chunk of your soul into the remote future, and enshrouding the present time chunk of your soul in layer after layer of obscurity and evasiveness, living simultaneously in the past, present, and future, but with all 3 time frequencies held away. Therefore, to a fantastic extent, you live inside the subconscious mind with virtually no conscious outlet. Down inside, there's something extraordinarily is happening. Free from the glare of any form of overt reflection, you are just stating, healing, and making yourself ready for the infinite unknown to pop or hatch. Intensive seething forces of dreaming into the void, the great abyss. And while knocked out of outer commission, liberated to conceive the inconceivable, and to renew your tangled and damaged roots in the old wise woman way that never ages and always works. All right, well, let's start and take a look at Aries. Aries rising. Now, for Aries, this lunar eclipse falls in your 9th house of Sagittarius, and this is the area that deals with long journeys, it deals with foreign interests, it deals with legalizing court systems, it deals with religion, higher education, also dreams, it deals with belief systems, philosophy, metaphysics, other people's opinions. It deals with freedom, adventure, limited or limiting programmed expectations from maybe the way you've been raised. It also deals with rituals and prophecy as well, and the law. It can also deal with people such as in-laws, people that are different than you, or that speaks a different language, or different cultures, and even publishers, clergymen, and grandchildren. Now, this lunar eclipse is a ending or a culmination or a fruition of something, or something that's coming to a head, or that's being finished up in the area of this 9th house. So this can be anything to do with the people or the topics that I just listed. So it can also be like ending an old belief pattern, or maybe studying a course that's finally finishing up, or that you are maybe finally coming to a decision on what you would like to study. It can be something to do with teaching, immigration paperwork that's finally finishing up, citizenship, moving to a foreign country where things are, the plans are finally coming together, or maybe it's coming to an end, that maybe you realized it's not going to happen, or you don't want to do that anymore. Or maybe you are finishing up a book, we're getting ready to publish that, or a trip overseas. So it can be anything in regards to this. It can also be in regards to overdoing things or over expanding things, becoming more realistic about certain plans or adventures or studying or getting a bit more, realistic about the real size of the issue. Now, because this eclipse also affects Pisces in a very powerful way, this is a letting go and in an area of either or both, and most likely it'll be both areas that are affected, and maybe even other areas in your life that's interrelated to these, depending on your natal placements of your planets interacting with the placements here. But these two areas will most likely both be in areas of letting go of something, finishing something up. There's a release here. And your Pisces area is your 12th house, which deals with it deals with the past. It deals with faraway places. It can deal with self-sabotage, addictions. It can deal with loss. It can deal with sleep, and it can also deal with seclusion or grief in some way. So there can be maybe some bad habits that you could also come to a point where you want to let go of. Maybe you want to drink less alcohol, or you're starting, it's coming to your awareness that you've maybe been drinking too much, or you tend to play too much video games and going off into a no boundary zone where you need to just reel yourself back in again, in losing yourself in order to maybe cope with certain things. So anything to do really with those topics that I mentioned, as well as the area of Sagittarius that I spoke about. Okay, well, let's move on to Taurus. Now, Taurus, for you, this eclipse is falling in your 8th house. And the 8th house deals with wills, it deals with legacies, it deals with alimony, it deals with gifts and fees, and it deals with, it can also deal with intimacy, it can deal with trauma from the past, it can deal with your spouse's income or any shared money you have with other people, or whether it's business or personal. It can be injuries, surgeries, bankruptcy in some cases. That's the topics that this house would deal with, losses, etc. It can also deal with surgeons as people, tax collectors, the insurance guy, those types of things. Now, this eclipse is a very strong emotional energy during this, especially in the 8th house. Now, this is the energy of a fruition, a culmination of something ending or finishing up or coming to a head, like I've said. So it could also be that you experience a very strong emotional experience with this eclipse energy, maybe connected to a really powerful people. It can deal with possessiveness about property, even, or holding on to past memories or things that's familiar. It can be that there's a desire for something that someone else has, or or maybe something that, there's been a jealousy about that. At this time, you're ready to let go of that. You're ready to let go of holding on to these memories and or these possessions that connect you to these memories, and you're willing to let go of that need to be to that attachment, even an emotional attachment to people or things. Letting go of that sense of wanting to control areas or topics similar to what I've mentioned, because attachment serves no purpose. It's a source of just more trauma over time. It is a time where you want to be a bit more careful in spending. But this is a very emotional, powerful energy for you during this time, Taurus. And with this eclipse, you could be also experiencing, like I've said, some kind of release or letting go, also in the area of Pisces, which in this case, Pisces is your 11th house. And the 11th house deals with hopes and wishes. It deals with deaths in the family. It deals with unbonded relationships, so friendships, groups of friends, parties, political parties that you could belong to. It deals with licensing and legislation and regulations and so forth. It can also deal, as like I said, as for people, it can be friends, co-workers, business partners, legislators. It could also be a son and daughter-in-law, or an advisor of some kind, or club members of some kind. So it can be connected to any of these types of topics, where you can also be experiencing a release or a letting go of something in this area. And of course, it can also impact other areas in your life depending on where your natal planets are situated and where and how they interact with this placement. Okay, well, let's have a look at Gemini. Now, Gemini, this eclipse falls in your 7th house of Sagittarius. And the 7th house deals with marriage, divorce, close personal relationships. It can also deal with business partnerships. It can deal with separations, lawsuits, settlements and agreements, contracts and agreements. It can deal with fights, open enmity, and theft even. And it can deal with people such as your partner, your spouse, a lawyer, an undesignated person. It can deal with the public, physicians, defendants, a niece or a nephew, and so forth. Now, with this eclipse, this will be in your 7th house, so you will be coming to the fruition of something, or the completion of something, or something coming to a head, or something finishing up, or something that's ending in this 7th house area, connected to the topics and people that I've mentioned. So you might also find that you're more focused on personal relations during this time, and that you're looking at yourself more. You could even be a little bit selfish during this time without realizing it, because you're really strongly focused on the you and I, aspect of life right now. You might be a bit more forceful in expressing your feelings, and you can maybe come across not as sensitive to other people's needs. So you just want to be aware of that. But in this case, you could be ending a relationship, you could be ending a partnership, or a contract might be finishing up, whether it's a marriage contract or a soul contract. That's something that's coming to an end, a lesson that's ending through someone. It can be moving to a different place. It can be a lawsuit that's finally coming to an end, or finally finding someone that's, maybe took something from you and now you've realized, the completion of the whole story. But it is a time where you want to try and focus on avoiding excesses, not doing too much, and overdoing what you can handle. You want to try and stay compassionate towards others, and be more open as well, to see their point of view, and be a bit more cooperative if possible. All right. Did I mention the Pisces area? I don't think I did. So Pisces will also be an area for you, Gemini, where you need to, where you will be releasing something or letting something go, or doing some healing through as well, connected to what's happening in Sagittarius as well. And Pisces is in your 10th house. And this is your area of career. It's the area of fate. It's the area of how the public sees you, your notoriety, your status, whether you're married or not married, or what title you carry, sort of thing. Your reputation, conviction. It can also be the law. And it can be related to people such as your mother or your father, a judge, executives, cousins. It can be rulers in general, superiors, an employer, etc. So that's also an area for you that will also be affected during this time. And this can be, of course, a letting go, not necessarily of a job, for example, but it can also be the way you look at your job, or the expectations you have of it, or what they have of you. So it's not necessarily always that something is going to come to an abrupt end, or it can be something that, you've been working towards, like that's finally coming together and it's coming to a beautiful fruition, a final result. So remember that there's many different ways of something coming to a head. And then let's have a look at Cancer. Now for Cancers, this eclipse is taking place in your 6th house, as well as the Pisces house that will be affected will be your 9th house. But let's look at Sagittarius in the 6th house. Now this is the area of your health. It can be the area of voluntary labor, civil service work, pets. It's animal husbandry, it's tenancy and caretaking. It's the area of your employees if you have a business. It's the area of your daily routines, your daily schedule, the things you do, routinely. And it's also the area of sickness and distress, and even enemies in some cases. But it's really the everyday experience of your life and the everyday people that you are surrounded by. And these people can be employees, inferiors to you in some kind, a tenant, a lodger, a pet. It can be a nurse or a dentist or a doctor of some kind, a healer of some kind. It can be people in civil service. It's your duties and responsibility area of life. And it can also be connected to uncles and aunts. So let's have a look. Now, so this eclipse will, bring something to a culmination, something to fruition, something coming to an end or being finished up in some way, or getting the final result of something, and or finally coming to a point of decision making in a certain area, or certain, connected to certain something that I've mentioned. And it's a letting go and releasing energy as well, and seeing it with a higher perspective and wisdom. So there can be an ending of, or, a daily routine, a change in how you run your day. Maybe you've realized you don't take enough breaks and you are putting too much on your plate at once, and you want to schedule in more breaks, or you're done gymming in the morning, you're now going to gym in the evening, or there can be a change in your daily routine, your habits, your daily habits, the way you order your life, your schedule. Your health and cleanliness falls under this. So maybe there's something that comes to fruition health-wise, something that's finally healing. It can be, the end of a treatment. Say you've, been going through chemo. It could be, the finishing up of something like that. It can also be a job that's finishing, or a job that's sort of changing form, or it's, you're moving into a different field, or you're finishing the training for it, or, a certain contract that you are dealing with is finishing up, or maybe you are quitting. It can also be an issue in regards to, like, for example, a tenant or an employee or a pet, something that's coming to a head there, or some kind of duty and responsibility that's maybe changing in your daily routine. It could even be like a child leaving the house, so you don't have that added responsibility anymore. It's changing. Or maybe there's, anything to do with that. Now, this will also, like I said, affect the area of Pisces, which in your case is the 9th house, which is the area that deals with faraway travel, foreign interests, rituals, publishing, legalizing things, the law, higher education, prophecy, philosophy. It's your belief systems, it's your sense of freedom and adventure, it's limiting and programmed beliefs and expectations of yourself and others, and other people's opinions, and the deeper meaning and the connectivity of the world and life. And this can also deal with the in-laws, grandchildren, people different than you, people that speak different languages than you, different cultures, people that maybe you're just not normally around. So in this area of your life, you can also be experiencing a letting go of some kind that's somehow connected to this Sagittarius area as well, and possibly other areas depending on your natal chart. But definitely these two areas that I've mentioned you will be experiencing quite strongly. All right, well, let's have a look at Leo. Now, Leo, this eclipse is taking place in your 5th house of Sagittarius, and the 5th house deals with community property. It deals with love affairs. It deals with speculation. It deals with children. It deals with pregnancy and politics and freedom and fun and authenticity. It deals with creative projects and sport and fun. And it can also deal, like I said, with children or a lover or entertainment or an entertainer, or an advisor of some kind. Now, with this eclipse taking place in this area of your chart, you will be coming to a fruition of some kind, or a culmination of some kind, or an ending of some kind, or finally something coming to a head in this area of your life. So it could be a love affair or a relationship that hasn't been that gotten to that much of a serious level, or it can be maybe a fun hobby that you have with your partner that you guys are maybe changing. Maybe you used to always play tennis and now you can't play that anymore for some reason, or you've decided to change it to something else. It can be a sport that's finishing up, or some personal career project, or even craft. You know, if you started your own business and it's finally coming to a head, or maybe you've decided to close it for now, or maybe change some part of it. It can be something to do with a child in your home. Maybe they're finishing up school, or they're, you know, something is coming to a head with one of them, or maybe one of them is leaving the house. They've now finished school and they're moving on. Or it can also be the way you have fun that's changing, or something that you used to see as fun is not fun for you anymore. You know, maybe you used to like playing volleyball, and now suddenly you just have no desire to do it anymore. So this is definitely a very strong eclipse. So you will be ending something, or finishing something, or letting go of something, or changing it, or seeing it from a different vantage point, different perspective in that area of your life. And then you'll also be letting go and releasing and healing in another area of your life, which is the Pisces area of the 8th house. And the 8th house deals with wills and legacies. It deals with alimony, gifts. It deals with debts and bankruptcies, taxes. It can deal with losses, injuries, surgeries. It can even deal with trauma, shared money with other people, whether it's in a business form or personal, like your spouse's income, your spouse's money, shared money with them. Intimacy, emotional, deep intimacy and research, sex, and also, you know, people connected to these types of topics. So there's also something in that area that you are ready to let go of, or that's releasing in this area for you. All right, and let's have a look at the Virgo rising. Now, for Virgos, this eclipse is taking place in your 4th house of Sagittarius, and the 4th house deals with domestic affairs. It deals with your past childhood patterning as well, childhood fears. It deals with inheritance. It can deal with farms, mines. It can deal with your home now, as well as your home when you were growing up. It can deal with parents. It can deal with property. It can deal with deep buried treasure. It can also deal with farmers, parents, family, your original home. Like, say you're born in one country and you've immigrated and moved, it can be the original home. Excuse me, I just had to take a sip there. And so that is what the 4th house deals with. It also deals with builders, farmers, and jurymen, and so forth. So this is an area of fruition, of something coming to completion, something ending, something finishing up or coming to a head, or a final result that's coming out, or maybe finally you have the right idea. So something is coming to a head in this area of your life. And so this is really a time where you don't want to lose objectivity, because there will be strong emotions connected to this energy. And a lot of your thinking could be influenced by the past. There could also be a chance that you might get in touch with a female relative that can give you some advice or give you some really good perspective as well. And so this is a time where you could be letting go, maybe, of some of these childhood patterns that kick in when you might be experiencing some kind of pressure or trauma event or trigger of some kind. So it's a great time to let go of anything that can control you on a subconscious level like that. It could be that you're maybe moving from your home or moving to, you know, moving to a new place or a new country. And it could definitely also be, maybe something in regards to a relationship with a parent or a family member that's coming to an end, or maybe there was difficulty before and the difficulty is now coming to an end, or there can be maybe an inheritance issue that's finally sorted out, or some kind of domestic affair that is now finally coming to fruition. And of course, it can also be property, like say you're buying a new home, or you've been building a home and you're finally finishing that up, or you finally found the home that you want, or the property deal finally comes through. And this can also be forgiveness in regards to family and parents. And in some cases, it can be the loss of a parent or loss of communication with one, or something changing and going into a different direction in regards to home or parenting, and so forth. And like I said, past conditioning that's changing or ending in some way. And then, of course, Virgos, for you, there is also the other area that's also being affected, which is Pisces, which in your case is the seventh house. And so in this area, you're also going to experience a release, some kind of letting go, some kind of looking at something in a different way or getting a new understanding about it. And this is the area of marriage, divorce, partnership, separation, removals, settlements, agreements, contracts, fighting, war. It's the area of lawsuits and open enmities, theft. It's the areas of your spouse, your business partner, the public, an opponent, a niece or a nephew, a lawyer, that type of thing. All right, and let's have a look at Libra. Now, for Libras, this eclipse is taking place in your third house, and your third house deals with languages, it deals with learning, it deals with skills and siblings and relatives. It deals with the mind, decision making, short trips, travel, commuting, visiting your neighborhood, your immediate surroundings in your neighborhood. It deals with writing and schooling and electronics and gossip and rumors and reports and letters and communication and stationery. And it deals with the delivery man or the neighbor or the teacher or the postman or a brother and a sister or relatives. So this is the area where you are finding something come to a fruition, something is ending or completing, and it might be that you are a relationship between you and a relative or a brother and a sister is changing or ending, or maybe there's a disagreement that's finally coming to a close, and you're mending that. There's a forgiveness. There's a letting go here of maybe the way a change in how you communicate, or maybe you're finally accomplished learning a new language, or you're finishing up a skill that you've been studying for, or a book, or you're changing, or the way you commuted to work is no longer working for you, and you're changing that. It can be even the finishing up of a school program, or some kind of communication with someone, or the way you communicate, or how much you interact with others, and your movement in general. Something is changing about that. Now, the other area for you that is being affected is the area of Pisces, which is your sixth house. Now, your sixth house deals with sickness and distress. It deals with health in general. It deals with voluntary labor, work, civil service work. It deals with animal husbandry, tenancy, caretaking, pets. It deals with your duties and responsibilities in life, your schedule, your routine, your daily habits. It deals with employees or people that are inferior to you, so to speak. Not that anyone's inferior to anyone. It deals with tenants, lodgers, pets, nurses, healers, doctors, dentists, uncles and aunts, etc. So it will also be affecting this area. So there's something here that's also being released, whether it's a bad habit or a way of scheduling your day, or how you spend your day at work. Like, this could very much be, transportation, and then also your daily changing, and maybe the people that you work around, the people that you're surrounded by. During the day, your schedule, maybe there's a responsibility that's no longer there. A child moves out of the house, or there's a treatment that you've been going through that's finishing up, or something of that sort, to do with health in general. All right, well, let's have a look at Scorpio. Now, for Scorpio, this eclipse is taking place in your second house. And your second house deals with movable possessions. It deals with money and security. It deals with gains and investments. It deals with the future and tomorrow. It deals with talents, skills. It deals with what you eat, what you consume, your resources. It deals with your inner security and financial security, your value system, your safety, the way you feel safe, what makes you feel safe. It also deals with personal relationships. And It can deal with a partner, it can deal with a banker, it can deal with an investor, an ancestor, and it can deal even with just your work in general. And like I said, a partner. And also your relationship with your own inner self-esteem. So in this area, there's something coming to a fruition or a culmination or an ending, or something like maybe there's a job that's ending, or a personal relationship that's ending or changing, or a value system of yours that's changing. You're valuing things differently. Maybe you are finding that you want a more meaningful occupation, or you don't need as much things anymore. You're willing to do with less. And, it can be that you're changing what you're eating, or you're eating less. And you're looking at your self-esteem in a different way. And you're not connecting what you own with how much you are valuable or valued anymore. You're looking a different way of valuing relationships and what you value in relationships. So it can be very much to do with any of these things, especially money as well, and how much you earn and how you're earning. It can also be a decrease sometimes in earning here, maybe, or just a change in general. But there's an acceptance here. So there's almost a willingness here to change things. So this is the Sagittarius area now for Pisces. That's also going to be affected with this eclipse, is in your fifth house. And your fifth house deals with community property, love affairs, fun, speculation, pregnancy, children, politics, creative projects, your own business that you're starting, sport, entertainment. It can be to do with it. It can also be your children, or time with your children. It can be an advisor or a lover, or anything to do with that. Now, so this is also something here that's being released, and that's something that there's coming a higher understanding in this area, and a letting go of some kind. There's some kind of release here. All right, and let's have a look at Sagittarius. Now, for Sagittarius rising, this eclipse is in your first house. And your first house deals with you. It deals with your health. It deals with accidents. It deals with birth. It deals with arrivals. It deals with the present moment and today. It deals with the condition of your vehicle. It also deals with adventure and new ventures that you're starting. It deals with your body and your attitude. It deals with your intentions, how you begin things. It deals with your personality, and your perspective on life, and how positive or negative you see things. It also deals with fellow travelers, fellow people that you meet, newcomers, new friends, new arrivals in your life. It can also deal with grandparents and great-grandchildren. So in this area, there's an ending or a culmination or a fruition or a coming to a head of something, or a final decision on something, or in this area. It can be, even an ending of how others perceive you, or how you perceive yourself. It can be a change in a look or in the approach of life that you have. You can want to completely change the way you look with this type of energy. It can be the end of a physical health problem, or an issue with the vehicle that you've had that's now finally coming to a head. And relationships in regards to yourself and how you, and also the world, and then also your relationship with a partner, with close relationships, and with people such as grandparents and great grandchildren and so forth. It can be your expectation levels that's changing in how you relate to others, your expectations of yourself, and expectations in your personal relationships. So there can be many things like that that's changing for you now. And of course, Pisces is the other area that you could be strongly affected by. And this is your area of the fourth house. And the fourth house for you, this is domestic affairs, it's the home, it's inheritance, it's property, it's the past, it's childhood patterning subconsciously, it's the grave, it's buried treasure, it's inheritance. That I say that? It's got to do with builders and parents, family, and jurymen, farmers, and so forth. So this is also an area where you're letting go of something, where you're finding healing and forgiveness in an area, like something is falling away, whether it's an old pattern from childhood that you're finally ready to let go. It doesn't serve you anymore. Whether it's forgiveness in regards to a parent or family, whether it's letting go of an idea of what a house should look like or what a home is, or where your home's going to be, or maybe you were planning on having it here and something is just redirecting you into a different area. It can be anything to do with these topics that I've just mentioned, or these people that I've just mentioned. And of course, it can be also affecting other areas in your chart depending on your own natal placements and how they're interacting here. Now, for Capricorn, this eclipse is taking place in the 12th house of Sagittarius. And the 12th house deals with grief, it deals with widowhood, it deals with funerals, it deals with exile, it deals with depression, it deals with healing, it deals with psychology, it deals with the past and yesterday, it deals with endings, it deals with poetry and music, it deals with bed pleasures, it deals with I forgot the word for it now, infidelity. It deals with self-sabotage. It deals with addiction, loss, dreams, sleeping, faraway places, hospitals, jails, etc. And it deals with secret enemies. It deals with widows and orphans and guards, etc., and clandestine associates. Now, this is an area where you could be experiencing some kind of ending or culmination or fruition or coming to a head of something or a final decision or something that's coming to the surface now in this area of your life. In regards to some of these topics that I've just mentioned. So maybe you've been addicted to something and it's you're being redirected and this is being removed from your life. And maybe you've really struggled to stop to do something and suddenly it's just a lot easier to let it go. There's something ending. It could be an affair that's ending. It could be depression that's finally over, or it can be, sleep patterns that are changing, or maybe a music project that's finally finishing up, or something to do with a faraway place. Maybe you're finally booking that trip or signing those, you know, moving papers. So there's something coming to a head in this area, or maybe it's an idea that you feel is no longer what you want. You're seeing things from a different perspective here. You're seeing the bigger picture here. And this, of course, will also be able to signal, for example, the end of a mental health or a physical health issue, the end of an overseas endeavor. It could be that you come across information that you didn't know about during this time, that was hidden before, that becomes exposed now. And like I said, it could be the end of a love affair. It can be the release from prison or hospital or some form of seclusion or some kind of background area. Like, say you've been sort of working behind the scenes for a while, and this could be a time where you're actually, changing, coming out of that again and being more in the front, so to speak. So there's also going to be a strong effect on your Pisces area of your chart, which is your third house, that deals with short trips, commuting to work, visits to your friends and siblings and relatives. It's deliveries. It's reports and letters and communication in general. It's languages. It's learning. It's the mind. It's skills. It's decision making. It's how we think about things. It's what we think about. It's our neighbor. It's our postman. It's our teachers. It's our brothers and sisters, and so forth. So this is also an area where you're letting go of something, where something's changing and releasing. So this is also the topics that you could be experiencing some of that in. So whether it is that you're changing how you speak or how you communicate or what you talk about or how you think about something, your understanding about something, maybe you are finishing up a skill you've been studying for, or you've made a final decision on what you'd like to learn, or the way you learn is changing, or the way you communicate. Maybe now you are if you've been zooming it, maybe you can do it in person now, or if you've been doing it in person, maybe you're zooming it. There's changes here. It can also just be in general changes in relationships with your relatives or brother and sister, or your neighborhood changes. You could even move, or the way you commute, what you drive, and so forth, the route you take. And then let's have a look at Aquarius. Now for Aquarius, this eclipse is taking place in the 11th house. And the 11th house deals with hopes and wishes. It deals with the future. It deals with politics. It deals with memberships, deaths in the family, unbonded relationships, so friends, groups of friends, liberties, licensing. It deals with freedom, legislation, regulation, rebellion. It deals with equality. It deals with co-workers, business partners, the financials of a business or the business you work for, legislators. It deals with advisors, club members, politicians, and it can even deal with a son and daughter-in-law. So these are the areas where you will be experiencing, or the topics that you'll be experiencing in there somewhere, some kind of ending or fruition or culmination, or some kind of coming to a head, coming to a finality of some sort, whether it's the beginning or the end of something, because of course at any end there's a beginning of something else. So it's the point of change, of redirection. So this is where you will be experiencing that. And this is also a definite. So, of course, this can be the ending of a membership. It can be a time where your group alliances are tested more. You could maybe cut friends or colleagues out of your life. A political party you might change political parties, or some kind of hobby that you had is ending, or something in regards to a relationship to a son and daughter-in-law. And a previous ideal might change. Maybe a previous dream that you've had that's now unrealistic for you. Or maybe you're seeing it in a different way and you're going to tackle it from a different angle or in a different way. But there could be something changing, or maybe you've decided, I've just had the wrong ideal, like this is what I want. Or you're getting redirected and it's like, oh, I could do it this way, or something just finally breaks through, you know. So there's different ways of looking at everything. It could, in some cases, rare cases, be a death in the family of someone being let go. It can also be connected to people overseas, or losing friends, or losing certain group alliances, and so forth. Now, there's also a strong effect in the Pisces area of your chart, which is the second house. And for the second house, you are dealing with property, personal possessions, movable possessions, money, the way you earn money. It's gains and investments. It's also the future and tomorrow. It's your talents, your skills, what you consume. It's your resources. It's your emotional and physical interrelated security axis. It's your safety and what makes you feel safe. It's your values. It's personal relationships. It's bankers, investors, and spouses, for example. So this is also an area where you will find some dynamic changing, something that's releasing, whether it's tension about something, whether it's a decision that's finally being made, whether it's an understanding that's finally taking place. Something here is being let go, and it's a release in this area of your life. So let's move on to Pisces. And for Pisces, this eclipse is taking place. It's taking place in your 10th house of Sagittarius. And the 10th house deals with career, it deals with fate, it deals with fame or notoriety, it deals with your reputation and how other people see you and how the public sees you. It deals with your status, whether you're married or not married, or what title you carry at work or professionally. It deals with conviction, it deals with the law. It deals with, say, you go to court and you're getting sentenced. It's that area that it deals with. It deals with your employer. It deals with a parental figure, a mother or a father. It deals with someone that's superior to you. It deals with professionals, judges, executives, and even cousins. So this is the area where you will be experiencing the powerful lunar eclipse. And this is the area where you'll be experiencing some kind of ending or culmination or fruition of some kind, or something coming to a head, something finishing and beginning, something that is being let go of now in this area. And you're seeing it from a different perspective. There can be huge changes here. It can be in regards to your career. Maybe you're moving to a new position or into a different level or a completely different job. It can be a different employer. Maybe your superior is changing and it's a different person that's going to be looking over you. It can be your status. You could be getting married or divorced, or your reputation can be affected by this. The way you relate to your parents, or your relationship with your parents and your kids and bosses, can all be affected with this. Sometimes it can indicate some kind of crisis that can take you back to your roots. In some cases, it can be a case of even giving away your authority in a way in one of these areas. Your whole direction in life could be changing and be affected by this eclipse. This could have something to do with a cousin, a relationship changing there. It can be a conviction in regards to the law, information about that, or something coming to a head. Or like I said, something with a parent, and so forth. But this will basically affect, can affect the whole direction of your life. And then there is also the area of Pisces that we need to look at for you, because this is the other area that will also be affected quite strongly, and any other areas that are connected to these by your also natal placements and so forth. But definitely the Sagittarius and the Pisces areas are strong. And Pisces is your first house. And your first house deals with you. It deals with the way you look. It deals with your body, your health. It deals with the present moment and today. It deals with accidents. It deals with the condition of your vehicle. It deals with the present day. It deals with birth, arrivals, new people coming into your life. It deals with new perspectives, adventures, new ventures, something new that you're starting. It can be, it's your personality. It's how you intend on things, your intentions, the way you begin things. It is new beginnings, new relationships of some kind. It can also be your attitude in general and how it affects your closest relationships with others as well as with yourself. And this can also deal with great-grandchildren and grandparents. So this is the other area that you could be affected in some way, in a release of something or a letting go of something, some kind of healing that's taking place here. Maybe it's physical, maybe it's a different perspective on life in general, or your personal relationships, or your relationship with yourself and how you look. Maybe something is finally coming to an end so that you can begin something that you've been waiting for, and the beginning is coming maybe quicker than you realized, because with these types of eclipse energies, things move quickly, and it can throw us into directions we never even thought were possible before. So there we go. May this eclipse bring many blessings. Remember that these eclipse energies can be felt sometimes a little bit before the eclipses are already in gear and months after. So these changes does not necessarily mean that they're taking place on the day of the eclipse. In some cases they would be, in some cases a bit before, a bit after, but this can take place anytime within the next 6 to 9 months. And I hope you can be open-minded and see everything that we are experiencing at this time as either lessons for growth and expansion for our souls, in whichever way it is that you are releasing or letting go, however uncomfortable or easy it may be. Remember that God is in control and it's on His timing. And you can trust and have faith. You can walk by faith and know that you are being led to where you ultimately need to be for your highest good. So let the sun shine bright on you this day. Until next time.